Ladies and gentlemen, hello. I'm your host, Krusty Canuck, and on the Krusty Canuck podcast on this beautiful May 28th, 2019, more liberal BS, Catherine McKenna's faux pas in a bar, and more anti-hate speech rhetoric. All that and more coming up on the Krusty Canuck podcast. Stay tuned. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Krusty Canuck, and this is the Krusty Canuck podcast for May 28th, 2019. As the title says, yes, more liberal yoo-hoo BS. Little Miss Barbie, Climate Barbie's rhetoric BS in a bar, talking about speaking louder. And, of course, our beloved Mr. Potato, talking about censorship and all that other good stuff. So, off the cuff. Well, here it is. It looks like our elected officials are flailing once again. Since it's an election year and all this BS about hate speech and all this crap about, oh, we have to stop people from saying such hateful things and we have to censor this. I'll be leaving links, of course, at the end of my broadcast in my description page. But I hate to say it, folks. It's newspeak. You know, who read 1984? Give us a show of hands. Can't really see, but you know what I mean. Who read 1984? Who read all these books in the 80s in regards to a centralized groupthink of people telling you what to think and what to do? Oh, yeah, we had that. It was called communism. And then it was called totalitarianism. In World War II, it was called fascism. Right? Do everything the state says and you'll be just fine. Yeah, wrong. Nope. You know, I do everything the state says. That is wrong. You know, without going out and hurting people, taking their stuff, and stealing and lying and cheating, all that other good stuff that you were taught as a child, what not to do. We have elected officials now, as we speak, sitting around conniving, telling us what we should be looking at, what we should be reading, what we should be saying online and in public. Now, I'm not an advocate for anyone to go out and hate and point a finger at anyone, especially when it comes to race or religion. I believe in live and let live. I may disagree with a lot of religious ideology. I may disagree where people should be placed in said ideology. But in this country, in Canada, and in our friends in the United States, and to our friends in every working democracy, as far as I know, the fundamental principles of said democracy is basically allow people to associate and pray and drink and dance and be merry, and to associate and say whatever the fuck they goddamn want to. And yes, I dropped the fucking F-bomb because I'm getting sick and tired of reading all this bullshit about what can we say and what we can't say, just because a handful of people might fucking be offended. Well, too fucking bad. If you're offended about something, by all means, speak your mind. How many goddamn days do I turn on television and see bullshit after bullshit when it comes to a politician talking about public safety, i.e. Mr. Ralph Goodall, saying, oh, there's nothing to see here, especially according to Rebel Media and other CTV sources. 2 people in Richmond Hill caught with explosive devices, right? Planning to do something with explosive devices, right? I'll leave a link at the end of the podcast here on that story, but I don't know about you, but if someone tipped off the local authorities where I live and they found explosive devices in my garage or in my basement, I think there would be an alarm. Would there not be? Would there be some genuine concern for the safety of the people around me or the people in the general area? What's this average citizen doing with explosive devices or parts thereof? Right? And apparently now these 2 clowns were out in bail just like that, right? I think it was a $50,000 bail, and it's amazing how it could be just paid off just like that. So regardless of what your personal opinion is, and it doesn't matter where these people are from, okay? I personally don't care where these people were born or brought up, but a father and son were caught with certain items of question. They were tipped off by American authorities. Right? American authorities warned York Regional Police, that's the district in Richmond Hill, that's, York Regional Police, that's their AO, area responsibility for their policing, and they were caught, right? But then, of course, Mr. Ralph Goodall has his 2 cents worth. Oh, there's nothing to see here, folks. Nothing to worry about. Really? You're the public safety minister, Buckeye. There is plenty to worry about. I would be worried. I'd be a little concerned. How about you? Let me know what you think, right, in regards to that. You can reach me at CrustyBCanuck67@gmail, or follow me at CrustyCanuck.ca, or on Instagram and or Facebook under the same name. Let me know what you think, folks. Really. Give me your opinion on it. If anyone in my general area was caught with any kind of explosive devices, and I'm not just saying gasoline for your lawnmower or a bit of fertilizer for your garden, I'm saying something en masse. According to the Rebel media, the family was kind of cooperative in discussing this situation. But I don't know about you, but if I was arrested for doing something like that, I really don't think there would be a $50,000 bail on my head. I think I'd be left to rot somewhere until I came to trial. Who knows? You tell me, folks. How would you treat that situation? Right? Yeah. Is it hate speech to speak out against that? Is it hateful? Is it a crime to speak your mind? 2 people caught red-handed with explosive equipment, and it's no big deal? I'd be concerned. And it doesn't matter if said individuals were from this culture, or from that country, or from this country or that culture. 2 responsible adults caught with something. That's the perspective. I don't care what color they are. I don't care where they come from. 2 citizens caught with something devastating. Right? That could lead to devastation. That could lead to some kind of radical ideologue or some kind of radical gesture. What were they planning to do? I don't know. All I can say, based on my terms of service, where I served, what I've seen overseas, and when you'd see a quote-unquote makeshift explosive, it's usually meant for something pretty bad. Not an experiment, not something you're going to hand into school or, show your clergy or your relatives. Hey, look what I made. No. It's got something to do with causing something. Some kind of upheaval, some kind of problem. Anyway, enough dwelling on that. I'm going to talk to more about Catherine McKenna's blunders recently on some of my Facebook feeds and some of my other media feeds. She has been caught saying the magic words, if you say it louder and louder and louder enough, people are going to believe you. So if you stomp your feet crying, wah, my way or the highway, is that going to win hearts and minds of your constituents, of voters out there? Right. Let's look at the past 3 years or 3.5 years of Miss McKenna's track record, saying stupid things, especially, on CTV, CBC, and all of, course, national news outlets. And let's see what she has to say. Give me a sec here.
We've learned in the House of Commons, if you repeat it, if you say it louder, if that is your talking point, people will totally believe it. People will totally believe it. People will totally believe it. I actually gave them some real advice. I said that if you actually say it louder, we've learned in the House of Commons, if you repeat it, if you say it louder, if that is your talking point, people will totally believe it.
Yeah, that was Miss McKenna in some blurb in some bar, probably, I'm assuming, in Ottawa. That came from one of my mutual media friends. I'll give him a credit later. But yeah, that was her talking. You know, totally believe it. Stomp your feet, say it louder. Totally believe it. Totally believe it. Okay, now, I know she is a lawyer, okay? And it takes a lot of dedication, a lot of discipline, a lot of hard work to become an attorney in this country. Any country, for that matter. Right? But to me, she embodies, kids and ladies and gentlemen out there, she embodies what happens when you realize that crack don't smoke itself. Okay? I don't find her to be brilliant. I don't find her to be intelligent. I find her to be slimy, conniving, and, well, full of shit. Right? I don't really think she has done anything in her life based on simple merit. Right? Now, regardless of what context she was discussing or saying in said bar, you know, talking about people like that, talking about the people in her riding, talking about Canadians in general. Oh, if you scream loud enough, people will totally believe it. They'll totally believe it. Yeah, I remember having a teacher scream and yell at me about how sometimes men do such terrible things. And, you know, she was right. There have been men in history that have done some terrible things. But that doesn't mean every man is guilty, right? I have been privy to watch some horrendous things that men have done. And I've been privy to see such wonderful things that men have done. But that doesn't mean that teacher was right, right? That educator was not right. Now, whether she had a hate on for the men in her life or men in general, who knows? I don't ever want to speak to that person again. However, when you have an elected official sitting there stammering about, oh, well, you just scream loud enough and people will believe it. Especially in election year, Miss McKenna, you're doing something really, really well to captivate the hearts and minds of all of us Canadians and all of us polluters. Is that not a quote of yours too? We're all polluters. We all should be punished. And if we don't agree with you, then we should be, you know, punished for that, right? Everyone will stand over here and stand over there. Gee, I know about you. Sounds like you're a windbag, and I've got no respect for you. I don't care what troubles you have gone through. I don't care what struggles you have gone through. You, ma'am, are a con artist, and you're ripping off Canucks. You're ripping us off. You sit in Ottawa, you're making about $170 plus a year, plus other perks that Mr. JT has given you freely, and you're talking down to us. You're talking to us like we're idiots. You travel around the country and the world with a big entourage. You are driven from point A to point B on a regular basis. You are served and catered to like you're some kind of royal monarch. Hate to break it to you, sunshine. When October comes, guess what? You're going to be in the working ring like the rest of us. So maybe you should think before you talk. Maybe you should actually for a second, what am I peddling? What's the bullshit am I peddling here? And what kind of result is going to happen based on my actions? There's an idea. I don't have a degree, ladies and gentlemen. I don't have a diploma in rocket science or environmental science. But it doesn't take a degree to understand bullshit when it's looking at you in the face. Right? Moving on from that crap. I've got no time for that woman, and I hope you, my listeners, and my fans out there alike, come October, you make the right decision. Right decision that's good for Canada. Right? Not just good for a handful of people here or a handful of people there. The country as a whole. You know, look at your representative in your riding. Doesn't matter if he or she is conservative, NDP, liberal, or rhinoceros, libertarian, or People's Party of Canada. Let's take a long look at the choices we have here and who we're going to put in power of this great democracy we call Canada. Right? To my American listeners out there, yeah, I know I talk a lot about Canadian politics, but hey, I am a Canadian. I love my country. I love you guys to the south. I love my British friends, my French friends, my German friends, and everybody else I have served with throughout my 20-year career. But I'm a patriot, folks. I love my nation. Right? Not every aspect of our government is fantastic. Not every part of our history is fantastic. But that's why it's history, because we're supposed to learn from it. Right? And cronies like Climate Barbie and Ralph Goodale and Mr. Moron Monroe and all these money-grubbing motherfuckers, pardon my French, motherfuckers, crasseuses, les tabernacles colis, right? All these wankers calling the shots. And for what? You know? To line their pockets at our expense, right? Well, when it comes to hatred and monitoring, that's being compromised as we speak. Who knows? When I publish this episode, will there be kind of, some kind of monitor saying I don't follow guidelines? I don't know. You tell me. You can reach me at krustycanuck.ca or krustybcanuck67@gmail, or you can find me at Krusty Canuck on Facebook and Instagram. Tell me what you think. Give me your point of view. I would like to know, ladies and gentlemen. Weigh in on this conversation. What gets me is, regardless of where you go now, everything is trying to be coddled and monitored and, taken away. Well, as I've said in my last podcast, if you don't like what you see, I would say the average Canadian and average American, or average Westerner, for that matter, can change the channel, turn the page. Don't buy that paper. Look at this paper instead. Choices. We all have choices. But freedom of speech is fundamental. Freedom of association is fundamental. Freedom of thought is fundamental. Period. It's not negotiable, right? Numerous great leaders and fictional heroes have tried to come and conquer that from us, right? No. I suggest, ladies and gentlemen, come next election, that we think really, really hard on what the Liberal Party of this country has done, right? They're not the Liberals I grew up with, and they're sure as hell not the Liberals that my parents grew up with, right? The idea of being liberal was, as far as I can remember, was living and let live, period. I may disagree with what you say, but I will fight for your right to say it nonetheless. To me, that was the principle of the closest thing to a perfect ideology out there, right? I don't agree with locking everything up on a Sunday. I don't agree with telling people what they can and cannot do on any day of the week, for that matter. But if you believe that, if you're a Christian and you believe the Sunday is the day of rest, then by all means, rest. Enjoy yourself, right? But I don't mind going out working for a few extra hours. I don't mind doing some extra banking. I don't mind doing some extra laundry. There's some of us that work throughout the week, and Sunday is the only day we actually have any time to do anything progressive around the home or thereof, right? And I will fight for the right for everyone to do that, whether they want to use it as a day of rest or get out and be productive, right? I don't agree with a lot of religious values. I don't agree with a lot of religious doctrines, but I'm not going to condemn every Christian for what happened in the past. I'm not going to condemn every Muslim for what's going on in the world today. I'm not going to condemn every Jew for the problems in Israel and Palestine alike. I'm going to condemn the people in charge, regardless of the religious doctrine, regardless of their personal values, right? Didn't Martin Luther King say, judge based on one's character? Exactly. Doesn't faze me, folks, but these leaders, right now, as I mentioned, Moron Monroe, Mr. Ralph Goodale, Mr. I'm helping, Climate Barbie, I know she hates that name, but she comes across as such a doll anyway, right? She'll just say whatever. And our beloved Prime Minister, Mr. Justin Trudeau, right? The man that sat there and said wonderful things like, the social impact of male construction workers and the abhorrent behavior of citizens towards that little girl that had her hijab cut, which we found out was a hoax a bit later, right? Weighing in, calling people rude. Oh, thanks for your donation. When our First Nations in this country have a genuine concern about land rights and clean water and clean air, right? in a way, I'm kind of on the side of a lot of the First Nations because of the land rights and looking after the environment. But I've also actually had personal conversations with a few Native elders that have said they're all for pipelines and they want responsibility done with it, which has been proposed numerous times. But of course, our leaders don't want to see it that way. They would rather conquer and divide, and they would rather sit there and try to sell more bullshit to further their agenda, right? I don't know about you, ladies and gentlemen, but I took an oath as a soldier, and I took an oath as a citizen, and as a veteran, and as a civilian now. I'm still taking an oath to protect this country and its interests. You know, more so internally than ever. You know. What do you say? Please let me know. CrustyBCanuck67@gmail.com, or right on my webpage, CrustyCanuck.ca, or you can find me via Facebook, or on Instagram, or here on Krusty Canuck Podbean.com. Give me a comment. Let me know. And if you feel like donating, please do. If you donate $5 to $10 a month on the Patreon page of the Podbean, you will be receiving a T-shirt or any shirt, T-shirt or long sleeve, on the teespring.com page and the Krusty Canuck merchandise of your choice, and I will mail it to you directly. Okay? So if you donate $5 to $10, become a patron of the Podbean podcast. Send me your particulars via email, and I will gladly grab you a shirt at no cost to you, as long as you donate $5 to $10 a month. And I will reiterate that I've said numerous times in my videos and in my podcast here, if you do donate $5 to $10 a month, I will graciously give 30% of that donation to the Calgary Veterans Food Bank, because veterans need to eat too. And it's a good cause, and it helps people in need. So, for those of you concerned why I'm asking for donations, it's not just for my pockets. It's to help out some of the less fortunate in the veteran circle. So, enough of my advertising here. Back to the topics at hand. I don't know what to say anymore, honestly, other than bitch and whine and complain, and hopefully maybe, hypothetically someone will be knocking on my door saying hate speech. That's such a broad term, though, isn't it? When you speak out against something, and then all of a sudden these creatures come out of the woodwork and shake fingers and scream and yell, oh, it's hate speech, hate speech, hate speech. Not to my knowledge is anybody in my circle or in my group or my media friends saying anything hateful. They're trying to find the truth. We all are. Not every prime minister in our history has been perfect. Not every governor general in our history has been perfect. I'm sure the Queen farts on a regular basis, ladies and gentlemen. But I will speak for some of my friends, and I will speak for some fellow veterans. If our government's going to sit there and scream transparency and accountability, why aren't they fucking being accountable right now for what they're doing? Right? The Liberal Party in this country is not a force for good. Now, that's my opinion. What have they done? Oh, we got to save the environment. We got to help this. We got to help that. Oh, please, carbon tax. Oh my God, the carbon footprint's horrendous. But here you go, Loblaws. Here's $12 million for a bunch of new freezers, just to quote unquote do your part for the environment. And yet, how many other small businesses out there are struggling to meet this carbon BS, or to meet the new business standards, or to meet the new payroll taxes? Taxes. Yes. Let's spend more money on third world nations that really don't give a shit, instead of actually investing in Canada. Let's spend more money on virtue signaling. $50 million for a school here, or $25 million over here, or $36 million, or $2.5 million return on a $250 million investment in Asia. I'm not an economics major. I'm not an economist by any means, but if I'm going to invest that much money into something, I would like to see a return within less than 5 years, ideally. But that's something to think about, isn't it? We can't build a pipeline in Canada, which has been bought by the Canadian taxpayer, right? But we can invest $250 million in Asia, right, to kiss China's butt. with a return of, 2.5 million bucks in return. Oh, what a great investment that is. Way to go, Monroe. Fantastic on you, sir. Yeah, fucking tool. Right? But what does he care anyway? He's married to the McCain French fry empire, so it doesn't matter, right? He doesn't give a shit. He still walks away with a few bucks in his pocket, and he's married to it. Right? So, here in Alberta right now, with Kenny's plan, getting rid of the carbon tax, well done, sir. But when you look at the transition from every time there's been a Liberal government in charge of something, and then Conservatives get voted in, there's going to be cutbacks, folks. There is going to be cutbacks. There is going to be people that have to go without, just like what some of our veterans have had to go without the past 4 years. Some of our elderly have had a raw deal because of Justin's virtue signaling and his bullshit and his finger pointing and his apologies from the past. Right? It's amazing how he can apologize to the spirit of a great Indian leader, right? But he can't apologize to the veterans he's personally stuck up the chuff. Or he can't apologize to the elderly in this country. And I'm talking the elderly of all walks of life, ladies and gentlemen, not just old stock Canadians. I'm talking about all Canadians that have struggled and have worked all their lives in this country. Yeah. So it speaks for itself. To my friends in Ontario and Quebec, the Belle Province, think about it when it comes to the federal election, ladies and gentlemen. The Liberals here in Alberta, well, they're not to be seen. They just talk BS. But the Liberals in BC have made it very, very clear. And the NDP, of course, have made it very, very clear. And we got rid of the NDP here in Alberta for the exact reason, right? Let's keep spending other people's money and not worry about repercussions, right? To me, that's irresponsible. That's not government. That's just playing with fire. And then when you get burned, you blame somebody else. Well, that's not being very adult now, is it? Yeah. So with all the Notleys out there and all the Trudeaus and all the climate Barbies and all the climate deniers, and however, yeah, I believe the climate is changing to a point, but taking an extra 25 or 40 cents per liter or an extra few dollars per kilojoule or whatever wattage you use to heat your home, I don't think that's going to solve the problem. I think the problem should be is that when you look at the heavy polluters out there, the bigger companies, not the mom and pop shops, not the little business down the road, or not the man and the woman trying to raise 4 kids, is the problem, right? If our carbon footprint is only 1.6% of the world's carbon emissions, why are we charging ridiculous money for the privilege of owning a vehicle and driving your own car or truck or heating your home? No. Can't use wood because, wood is bad. Can't use coal, coal is bad. Okay, what do we do for home heating? Of course, some of the geniuses said, that's use solar and wind. Okay. How do you power the solar panels? Especially if a day where you're overcast and there's no sun. How do you power the wind turbines? I've said this before. You need lubrication to power those giant turbines. And they don't use vegetable oil, ladies and gentlemen. Not vegetable oil in those things. So, contrary to the myth, what gets me is that when it comes to taxes, we all pay enough. We all do. We all pay enough taxes. We all pay enough revenue for this and for that, to scratch your butt, to pick your nose, to smoke a cigarette, to have a drink, and to watch the odd girly show. But when it comes to day-to-day living, we have a government that has actually increased the cost of living on all aspects of Canadians' lives. Doesn't matter if it's tuition fees for students. Doesn't matter if it's for parking fees in any major city or any major complex. Heating your home is getting more expensive. And driving your vehicle to work is getting more expensive. So what are you trying to promote? We better hurry up and adjust to what you say and what you tell us to do, and we better do it well. Yeah, well, come October, you're going to start being told what to do yourself because you're going to be kicked out of office, and that's all there is to it. And if some chance, by some miracle of some foreseen circumstance, you get elected again, well, guys like me are going to keep fighting you. We're going to keep speaking out against you. Right? You can pass all the hate speech laws you want. You know, you're only creating a little dictatorship. And every great dictator has always had some great revolution taking him down. So you can speak all your rhetoric and words and stuff about how, oh, this is hateful and we have to monitor. Yeah, you have to monitor what we do. Have to talk to big tech firms, what we can say and what we can't say. No, that doesn't sound like 1984 at all. No, it doesn't sound like Newspeak. Doesn't sound like groupthink now, does it? No, of course not. No, we're just all idiots. We're all just polluters and sit around in our underwear and watch war movies and get all excited. Yeah. Well, come October, folks, I highly suggest that we start thinking who we're going to put in charge. Right. At this point, I'd say anybody but the Liberal Party right now. But I'm not going to say the NDP either. And I'm not going to say the Conservatives. Even though it looks like the Conservatives are fighting more and more and more for Canadian values and traditions and the Canadian way of life, which is similar to the American way of life, which is similar to the British way of life, where we live in peace and harmony, democracy and security, and opportunities for all. Equality of opportunity, not equality of outcome. That's where I stand. But when you deny said opportunities based on bullshit ideas like carbon tax and this racial division that the Liberal government keeps putting up there, and there have been numerous examples of racial divide. The whole it's okay to be white thing that was done at the University of Manitoba. I did a video on that. You can reference that there on my YouTube page, where it's okay to be you. They have done nothing but promote that kind of division. So why would you elect a government that promotes the division of all of its people, and for what? Honestly, I don't care what religion you are, ladies and gentlemen. I don't care what your faith is based on. I'm not judging anybody based on their religion, their gender, or whoever they or whatever they identify with. But everything that we say and do has always been open to criticism, to humor, to dialogue, to everything else that we value here. And I personally believe that this government has gone too far in regards to regulating. That's right, regulating what we have to say and what we have to do. It's not up to the government to regulate what we say. It's up to the government to look after its people, to make sure we live in peace and harmony and security. And that brings me to another comment of what Trudeau honestly thinks about our military. Instead of calling us the armed forces, we're called a defense team. What are we, in fucking court? The defense team says, okay. And this came from the Rebel Media. I'll leave a link at the end of the podcast here. But hello, ladies and gentlemen. They tried that crap in the early 90s, too. Instead of calling it the Canadian Armed Forces, they used to call that Canadian Forces, right? It's the kinder, gentler approach to things. The Canadian Forces. I used to remember some of the shitty commercials they put on for recruiting, too. It made it look like a goddamn summer camp. Happy, happy, joy, joy, that kind of thing. But I went to basic training in the 90s. Yeah, it wasn't fucking summer camp, I'll tell you that much. So, say the least, we get more of these shitheads calling the shots, and enough is enough. Enough is enough. Like, I'm not going to sit here and try to hover and sound holier than thou. My ego is not that big. I've made mistakes in my life, too. I've done things that I'm not proud of, but I'm here now. Bills are paid, live in a great home, married to a great lady. I have great family, I have great friends, and I'm very, very fortunate for what I have. But that's worth fighting for. And in your lives, that's worth fighting for, too, ladies and gentlemen. Your family, your friends, your identity. And I'm not talking about how you identify with. I mean your identity as a taxpayer and as a citizen, as a human being, a man or a woman. your identity as whether you work 40 plus hours a week or whether you study 40 plus hours a week. The freedom we look around and we see every day, that is worth fighting for. And I just personally believe that the government we have in charge right now is doing its utmost for damage control, but they're still saying stupid things in the process. I know, you decide. You know, Mr. N.C. Lavalin, Mr. Potato, you know, Mr. Christopher Freeland sitting there saying, oh, the Chinese called him Potato. Yeah, they're making fun of him, windbag, and they're making fun of you too. You know, Iker Khalid and her division creating M103 mandate, right? Climate Barbie and her, well, okay, you guys should just adjust and change your lifestyle to suit your fucking needs. Mr. Moron Renault and his, challenging small businesses, calling them tax havens when they're not, right? Mr. Ralph Goodale is saying, oh, nothing to see here. You know, Mr. Blair and his anti-gun BS legislation, you know, thinking you're going to, stop gun crime in this country by banning all guns, right? They banned all guns in Britain. They still had gun crime there. They banned gun use in Australia, and they still had gun crime there, right? So, when I look at the logic of these leaders, they don't have any. Well, they're living proof that crack don't smoke itself, ladies and gentlemen. Really. They're living proof that crack does not smoke itself. So, my advice, and I'm going to reiterate and repeat it again. Come October, let's think clearly, let's think wisely on who we're going to let run this country. Right? There are people in this country struggling to make ends meet. And these clowns are charging an additional 20 cents or more per gallon. Correction. Well, per gallon, yeah, or per liter of gasoline, wherever you're living. You know, to my American friends, I know California is going through a crisis with gasoline as well. So you can relate. To my American listeners out there, you can relate too. Right? This whole liberal dichotomy of what, liberalism is, it's turned into a goddamn farce. I'll say live and let live. And, I will fight for your right to say what you want to say, regardless if I agree with it or not. But then these people start fucking with the words hate speech and start fucking with what's going to be online and how we're supposed to speak. You regulate speech, you're not being democratic, you're being totalitarian. Can't sit there and say you believe in free speech and then say but. You either believe in free speech or you don't. Common sense is where, okay, you're not going to walk into a theater and scream fire 3 times. No. But if you walk into a theater and there's a speaker you disagree with on policy or economics or gender or parity, then challenge that individual to a conversation, to a debate. But don't try to shut them down. There's been numerous people I have witnessed speaking that I've disagreed with. 1, I either turn the channel. 2, turn the page. 3, left the conference. Or 4, sit and listen to what they had to say. And the opportunity to debate said individual came around, then I did it. Right? A lot of blowhards out there that I really don't want to see to speak, but I'm not going to deny their right to speak either. A lot of blowhards out there who write some stupid articles, like Ricochet Media, chastising my friends at Fire Force Ventures. Right? They really wrote a stupid, ridiculous article, and I challenged them to a debate. I never got any feedback on it. Okay, good. So, but still, they had the right to say what they did. Well, and we got to keep the dialogue open, folks. And I'll say again, if you donate to my page, become a patron, you just look at the Krusty Canuck podcast page at podbean.com. On the top right corner, it says become a patron. Follow the directions from there. And if you donate $5 to $10 a month to my podcast, give me your particulars, and I will gladly mail you a T-shirt of your choice from my teespring.com store, Krusty Canuck merchandise, and we go from there. So please consider donating 30% of every donation and of every sale that I receive, either on Podbean or YouTube. I will gladly donate to the Calgary Veterans Food Bank. It does cost me a few bucks to make these podcasts. It's an investment well worth my time and effort. But, sometimes the costs add up. So if you Care to donate, please do. I will still leave this podcast for free on Podbean and on YouTube. But if you feel like donating, please do. It's encouraged. Anyhow, that's my episode for this beautiful May 28th, 2019, here on the Krusty Canucks podcast. Hope you've enjoyed. And I enjoy doing this immensely. And I'm going to keep on doing it. I'm going to keep speaking out against the status quo. And I'm going to keep handing my opinion. All right. So, folks, on that note, please take care of yourselves. Love your loved ones. And I've been Krusty Canuck. And remember, humanity and merit wins the day. Take care, and bye for now.